The ocean has always been a mirror for human imagination, its endless horizon suggesting infinity, its depth hiding mysteries that even the boldest divers cannot reach. It is the oldest storyteller, whispering through waves, roaring through storms, and keeping its greatest secrets in silence. To speak of lost civilizations of the ocean is not simply to recount legends, it is to dive into the place where myth and memory blur, where history drowns but refuses to disappear, where the water itself becomes an archive written in salt instead of ink. The ocean does not forget. It conceals, it protects, and sometimes it reveals. When you stand at the edge of the sea, you see only its surface, glittering, calm, or restless, but always incomplete. Beneath that surface are plains wider than continents, mountains taller than the Alps, and canyons deeper than the Grand Canyon. There are rivers flowing within the sea, currents stronger than any terrestrial wind, and lakes of brine where strange creatures thrive. Within these landscapes lie ruins and relics, fragments of worlds erased not by time alone but by waves that swallowed them whole. Civilizations rise upon coasts, flourish with trade and culture, then one day the ocean advances, merciless, and all that once was, is reduced to whispers beneath tides. Legends of these civilizations are scattered across cultures like shells upon shore. The Greeks spoke of Atlantis, island of wealth and wisdom that fell to the sea in a single night of wrath. In the Pacific, the people of Nan-Madol built stone cities upon artificial islands, only to vanish, leaving ruins still visible beneath waters. In the Indian Ocean, stories tell of Kumari Kandam, a sunken land where ancient Tamil culture once thrived. In Japan, whispers persist of Yonaguni, submerged terraces carved like temples and pyramids. Each story differs, but their rhythm is the same: greatness, catastrophe, ocean. The fascination with lost civilizations of the ocean begins not only with mystery but with fear. Humanity has always feared water because it cannot be controlled. Fire can be tamed, earth can be tilled, air can be channeled with sails, but the ocean remains sovereign. Its depths suffocate, its storms crush ships, its currents drag bodies into oblivion. Yet it also nourishes, connecting distant peoples, offering fish, salt, trade. The duality makes it divine and monstrous. Thus, civilizations near coasts worshipped ocean gods, built temples facing waves, prayed for safe journeys, and told stories of punishment when pride offended the sea. These stories, preserved through generations, are more than fantasy. They are coded memories of real floods, real tsunamis, real drownings of cities. Imagine standing centuries ago in a thriving coastal city. The markets hum with voices, sails fill the harbor, temples rise proudly. But far offshore the earth shifts, and in hours a wave higher than walls approaches. The city, unprepared, falls silent under roar of water. Streets become rivers, houses vanish, temples collapse. Survivors flee uphill, carrying only memory. Their children grow with tales of day ocean claim the land. Centuries pass, memory becomes myth, myth becomes legend, legend becomes religion. Meanwhile, beneath seafloor, stones remain. Columns lie tilted, statues gaze upward in darkness. These are the bones of lost civilizations. Modern science now joins ancient myth in search for these lost worlds. Sonar scans reveal anomalies beneath waves, symmetrical structures where geology alone cannot explain, straight lines where randomness should rule. Divers explore and find stairways descending into nothingness, walls carved with patterns, stone blocks fitted as if by human hand. Skeptics argue these are natural formations, products of erosion and tectonics. Believers insist they are evidence of forgotten cultures erased before recorded history. The debate continues, but what matters is not certainty, it is the possibility. Because possibility fuels imagination, and imagination drives exploration. The ocean becomes not just geography but archive of human past, waiting for those bold enough to read its salt-written pages. Why do we hunger for these stories? Because they remind us that nothing is permanent. Every empire believes itself eternal, yet the sea laughs at such arrogance. Rome built aqueducts and colosseums, yet coasts it touched have shifted. Egyptian temples stand, but many are now threatened by rising Nile and Mediterranean. Even modern cities, with steel and glass, stand vulnerable to rising seas and future waves. To think of lost civilizations is to think of ourselves. If Atlantis fell in a night, why should New York, Tokyo, or London be immune? The ocean is patient, and patience outlasts pride. The lost civilizations of the ocean are also mirrors of our inner lives. Each of us builds cities within, walls of certainty, temples of ambition, harbors of memory. Then one day a wave of crisis comes: illness, betrayal, failure, grief, and those cities collapse. What remains is resilience, the ruins of old self, upon which new one rises. To reflect upon drowned cities is to reflect upon impermanence of our own illusions. Just as sea swallows Atlantis, so time swallows ego. The lesson is harsh, but it is also liberating. For when you accept impermanence, you learn to cherish present, to build not for eternity but for meaning. Let us wander through the first myth, Atlantis, the most famous lost civilization. Plato spoke of it not as fantasy but as cautionary tale. A land beyond the pillars of Hercules, richer than any empire, proud in technology, corrupt in heart. The gods punished it, and in one night it vanished beneath waves. Scholars debate whether Plato invented it, whether it refers to Minoan eruption, whether it hides real memory of lost land. But what matters is its echo. Atlantis is not just city, it is metaphor for hubris, for societies that rise too high, believe too much in their permanence, and are reminded by sea that no wall is unbreakable. To hear of Atlantis is to hear warning. To imagine its temples now underwater is to imagine our own skyscrapers beneath future tides. But Atlantis is only one. Off coast of India near Dwarka lie ruins submerged, suggesting cities older than written history. In Mediterranean, legends of Helice describe Greek cities swallowed by sea after ignoring omens. In South America, stories tell of Viracocha leading survivors from sunken lands. In Polynesia, chants recall islands that sank after angering gods. The pattern is global. Different names, different gods, same story. The sea gives, the sea takes. Civilization flourishes, wave arrives, memory drowns. The myths converge into single songs sung by ocean across centuries. Respect me, or I will remind you who truly rules. Now close your eyes and imagine walking across ocean floor where these cities rest. Darkness surrounds you, silence broken only by distant echo of wails. Your light reveals columns encrusted with coral, stairways leading nowhere, statues wearing masks of barnacles. Fish dart through arches once built for kings. What was once vibrant with laughter is now inhabited by silence. Yet, even in ruin there is beauty, a beauty born of fragility. The ocean preserves what it destroys, turning temples into reefs, turning walls into havens for life. The lost civilizations are not only dead, they are transformed, reincarnated as ecosystems. In this sense, the ocean teaches not only impermanence, but also renewal. Science adds further depth. During last ice age, sea levels were over 100 meters lower. Vast areas now submerged were dry plains, where humans hunted, built, dreamed. As ice melted, seas rose, swallowing coasts. Doggerland, once connecting Britain to Europe, is now North Sea. Sundaland, once sprawling across Southeast Asia, lies beneath waves. These were not myths, but realities, vast lands drowned by rising oceans. Civilizations may have thrived there, their traces now hidden. Every myth of lost land may echo these real drownings. Every story of sunken city may be memory passed through generations. The ocean is not liar, it is witness. Philosophically, to dwell on lost civilizations of ocean is to meditate upon fragility of human story. We think history begins with writing, but writing is recent. Before it, stories were carried in memory, in song, in myth. Many of those memories describe floods, cities drowned, lands lost. Are they inventions, or echoes of real events forgotten by time but remembered by culture? Perhaps both. Perhaps myth is way memory survives drowning. Perhaps legend is raft upon which truth floats. If so, then every story of lost civilization is both history and poetry, both fact and symbol. So tonight, as you listen, let the first wave of memory wash over you. Beneath every ocean lies story. Beneath every myth lies truth. The lost civilizations are not gone. They live in imagination, in science, in ruins, awaiting rediscovery. The ocean does not forget. It only waits, and when we dive into its depth, we dive also into ourselves, into our own fragility, into our own resilience. The wave may come, but so too does wisdom. If the first wave of memory carried us into the idea of lost civilizations, the second wave must bring us deeper into the echoes left behind by those who lived and vanished by the sea. For the ocean does not erase entirely, it muffles, it distorts, but it also preserves. Just as shells carry the faint roar of waves, the ruins beneath the waters carry the murmur of forgotten people, their voices blurred by salt, their monuments softened by currents, yet their presence undeniable. To speak of echoes is to speak of fragments, pieces of evidence scattered like pearls across continents, each one hinting that human history is longer, older, and stranger than we dare to imagine. Look first to the Mediterranean, cradle of so many civilizations, yet also graveyard of countless others. Along its coasts, myths of floods are nearly universal. The city of Halik in Greece, once prosperous with temples and theaters, was swallowed in one night by earthquake and wave around the year 370 before Christ. Writers of antiquity spoke of it as warning. Travelers later saw its ruins beneath water glimmering in sunlight, and only in our century have divers rediscovered its remains. Halik was not Atlantis, yet it tells the same story: arrogance of believing in permanence, punishment by the sea, and transformation into legend. Its echo reached even Plato, perhaps shaping his tale of a larger Atlantis. Sail further west and you find whispers of Tartessos, an Iberian civilization said to be rich in silver and wisdom, vanishing mysteriously from records. Some argue it was drowned, some that it merged with others, but the memory of land lost to waves haunts its legend. Even beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the Atlantic itself carries echoes of cities erased. In Morocco, fishermen tell tales of stone walls beneath waves. In Ireland, there are stories of Hy Brasil, Phantom Island appearing once every 7 years, perhaps a memory of land now drowned. The ocean does not reveal directly. It teases, it tempts, it leaves fragments that pull us into wonder. Travel eastward to the Indian Ocean, and the myths multiply. Off the coast of India, near modern Dwarka, ruins of stone walls, streets, and anchors lie beneath waves. Ancient texts spoke of this city as home of Krishna, a divine hero whose city was swallowed by ocean after his death. For centuries, scholars dismissed it as fantasy, yet divers have touched its stones, measured its roads, found pottery dating thousands of years old. Whether Dwarka of legend or not, it stands as echo of lost coastal civilization. Further south, Tamil stories speak of Kumari Kandam, a vast land stretching across Indian Ocean, homeland of great poets, swallowed by rising seas. While no evidence confirms such continent, the myth may echo real floods of Sundaland, when melting ice turned plains into archipelagos. The ocean swallows continents, but cultures remember through poetry and myth. Cross again to the Pacific, where the islands themselves seem fragments of drowned world. Nan Madol in Micronesia rises from shallow lagoon, massive basalt columns stacked into artificial islets, canals flowing between them. Who built them, and why, remains unclear. The city is sometimes called Venice of Pacific, yet it was abandoned centuries ago, left to moss and tide. Some believe it is remnant of lost continent Lemuria, a mythical land spanning Indian and Pacific. Whether or not that existed, Nan Madol stands as echo of great power and mystery, a city built upon sea only to be reclaimed by it. Nearby, in Japan, the Yonaguni Monument lies beneath water, terraces and steps carved into shape of pyramid, staircases leading downward, lines too precise for coincidence. Debate rages. Are they natural formations sculpted by current, or remnants of civilization predating known history? Either way, they are echo from drowned shore, pulling imagination into abyss. What unites these scattered echoes is not certainty but possibility. Each ruin, each legend, each story of city drowned may be fragment of larger truth. Perhaps human history is not simple line from caves to skyscrapers, but complex web of rises and collapses, many erased by sea. Perhaps our species has risen before, built before, dreamed before, only to be humbled by wave. The ocean becomes not only boundary but reset button, erasing chapters, forcing humanity to begin again. The echoes remind us that we are not first to stand at water's edge, nor will we be last. Consider Doggerland, once stretching between Britain and Europe, drowned after last ice age. For thousands of years people lived there, hunting, carving tools, building camps. When seas rose, their lands vanished, leaving only artifacts dredged by fishermen, antlers, flint, even bones. These are whispers of lives erased not by myth but by climate. Imagine families watching waters advance slowly, year by year, losing fields, villages, memories. They may have told stories of land swallowed by sea, and those stories may have become myths of lost worlds told later by their descendants. Every echo is both memory and warning, reminder that seas can rise again, that what seems permanent can vanish. The echoes are not only archaeological, they are cultural. Nearly every tradition on earth speaks of great flood. From Mesopotamia's Epic of Gilgamesh, to Hebrew Noah, to Hindu Manu, to Native American stories of canoes saving survivors, to Pacific Island chants of drowned lands, the narrative repeats with striking similarity. Were these independent inventions, or memories of real floods passed down through generations? When cultures separated by oceans tell similar tales, one wonders if ocean itself was teacher, if waves erased so much that survivors across world encoded truth in myth. These myths are echoes too, more reliable than stones, because memory can float where monuments sink. Philosophically, these echoes ask us to rethink history. We trust what is written, yet writing is recent. Before writing there was story, song, memory. Perhaps much of human past lies beneath ocean, unrecorded except in myth. Perhaps our arrogance blinds us to scale of loss. We say civilization began 5,000 years ago, but what if earlier cities now lie under waves? What if ocean holds stories of 10,000 years, 20,000 years, older than pyramids, older than Stonehenge? We cannot know until we dive deeper, but echoes insist on possibility. The sea is silent but not empty. Its silence is crowded with voices too faint for most to hear. The echo is also inside us. Each of us carries memories drowned by time, dreams forgotten, selves we once were. Just as ocean covers ruins, we cover past with busyness, distraction, pride. But sometimes, in stillness, echoes return. A song reminds you of childhood. A scent recalls a lost love. A place triggers memory of who you were before a wave of life changed you. These are personal Atlantis, drowned yet not erased. To listen is to honor them, to learn from them, to integrate them. The ocean outside and the ocean inside both speak through echoes, both invite us to listen. Imagine walking along modern shore after storm. You find fragments, pottery shard, coin, piece of statue. Each tells story of something once whole, now broken, carried by waves. Multiply this by centuries and you understand how ocean archives civilizations. Fragments scattered, waiting for hands to find, waiting for minds to wonder. The drowned shores speak, but only to those patient enough to listen. So let this be remembered. The lost civilizations of the ocean are not silent, they echo. They echo in ruins, beneath waves, in myths carried across cultures, in artifacts dredged from sea, in memory within us. The question is not whether they exist, but whether we will listen. For the ocean continues to speak, and its warnings are clear. What has drowned before can drown again. The tide of history is not stable but restless. To ignore echoes is to repeat mistakes. To hear them is to live wisely. As you rest tonight, imagine echoes rising through waves, voices of forgotten cities calling not with fear but with wisdom. They whisper, respect the ocean, respect impermanence, respect fragility of what you build. If you hear them, you may not save stones, but you may save yourself. For echoes are not ghosts, they are guides, and they will guide you if you let them. The ocean does not keep time as we do with calendars and clocks. It measures time with tides, with rises and falls that repeat endlessly yet never return quite the same. Within these tides lie memories of kingdoms erased, civilizations that rose proudly upon coasts only to be humbled by waters. To imagine the lost civilizations of the ocean is to picture tides that do not simply wash beaches but entire histories, pulling empires into depths where silence reigns. The ocean becomes both executioner and archivist, swallowing palaces and harbors, yet preserving them under layers of silt, so that centuries later, divers can glimpse their outlines, and archaeologists can debate whether legend was always truth. Let us begin with the legend of Mu, a supposed continent in the Pacific described by mystics of 19th century. According to the tale, it was a vast land where humanity first flourished before sinking into sea. Mainstream science dismisses Mu as invention, yet when you consider the Pacific, its sheer scale, its thousands of islands that seem like mountain peaks of drowned lands, the myth feels less absurd. Cross-Polynesia chants speak of lands lost to waves, of gods punishing arrogance with flood, of islands appearing and disappearing like breathing of ocean itself. Perhaps Mu never existed as single continent, yet as collective memory of countless drowned islands it lives, remembered by tides that carried fragments of coral and stone across Pacific currents. Move westward to the Indian Ocean, and the memory of Lemuria rises. Scientists once hypothesized such land to explain distribution of species, and though plate tectonics replaced that theory, myths of sunken land remain. Tamil traditions describe Kumari Kandam, homeland of poets and sages, lost beneath sea. Whether Lemuria existed geologically is debated, but culturally it survives as myth of Golden Age drowned. The tides remember not only geography but also nostalgia, the longing for paradise lost. Civilizations, like individuals, look backward to imagine era when greatness was untainted, only to insist it was stolen by catastrophe. The ocean becomes thief in myth, yet perhaps it is simply mirror reflecting human yearning for permanence. Closer to Mediterranean lies story of Pavlopetri, off coast of Greece. Unlike Atlantis, this one is no legend, but fact. An ancient city lying beneath shallow waters, with streets, courtyards, tombs, pottery. It thrived nearly 5,000 years ago before sea swallowed it. Discovered by divers, it shows how ordinary cities too can drown, not only mythical empires. Pavlopetri is kingdom remembered not by storytellers but by tides themselves. Stones preserved under sand, waiting for modern eyes. Its existence proves that when myths speak of cities beneath sea, they need not always be fantasy. Sometimes the tides themselves are historians, preserving truth until we are ready to see it. In Japan again, tides whisper of Yonaguni. Divers explore terraces resembling pyramids, steps descending, pillars rising. Some insist it is natural rock formation, others claim it is work of ancient hands. If human-made, it would predate recorded history, rewriting our understanding of civilization. If natural, it shows how easily we project meaning onto shapes, how much we desire lost civilizations to be real. Either way, Yonaguni reveals how tides shape memory. The waves wash away certainty, leaving only suggestion. The kingdom is not fully remembered, nor fully forgotten. It exists in liminal space between myth and science, carried by tides that refuse to let it vanish. South America, too, holds whispers of drowned kingdoms. The Tiwanaku culture near Lake Titicaca told of Viracocha, god who led survivors from lands destroyed by flood. Along Peruvian coasts, legends describe cities taken by sea after rulers offended gods. The Nazca desert lines, enormous figures visible only from sky, may have been drawn partly in response to changing waters, a way to speak with heavens as earth shifted beneath. Perhaps coasts there too held cities now erased, their ruins scattered beneath Pacific. If so, tides remember them, carrying fragments into stories told by descendants, weaving them into myths that survive even as stones drown. Consider also the Baltic Sea, where divers in recent years found stone formations resembling roads and structures. Some argue they are remnants of prehistoric settlements drowned when glaciers melted. Others dismiss as natural. Yet even natural formations, shaped by tides, resemble human work, blurring boundary between what is natural and what is cultural. The ocean loves such ambiguity, for it ensures we never stop wondering, never stop imagining civilizations where certainty cannot reach. The tides preserve possibility, and possibility is fuel for imagination. The tides also remember catastrophes witnessed by humanity itself. The eruption of Thera around 1600 before Christ obliterated Minoan civilization on Santorini, sending waves across Aegean. Some scholars argue this event inspired Atlantis' story. The tides carried ash, pumice, ruin, scattering memory into myths of gods punishing pride. The tides did not invent story, they carried it, ensuring it would echo across centuries. In this sense, tides are storytellers too, moving debris and legends alike, connecting past disaster to future listeners. Why do tides remember? Because they move endlessly, carrying fragments from one shore to another. A piece of pottery from drowned city may wash upon beach thousands of miles away. A bone from ancient hunter may be dredged by fishermen. A myth told by survivors may travel with migrating tribes. Tides are not only water, they are memory in motion. They take fragments of civilizations and scatter them like seeds, planting stories across world. That is why flood myths appear everywhere, why tales of drowned kingdoms resonate across continents. It is not coincidence, it is continuity, delivered by waves that connect all coasts. Philosophically, kingdoms remembered by tides are reminders of humility. We build cities with pride, believing walls eternal, yet tides see them as sandcastles. They wait patiently, and when time comes, they reclaim. The ocean is not cruel, it is indifferent, and in indifference lies lesson. The tide does not care for wealth, for power, for pride. It cares only for rhythm, rising and falling. When kingdom interrupts, tide waits until it can resume. Our civilizations are temporary interruptions of eternal rhythm. The sooner we accept this, the wiser we live. Imagine standing on beach at low tide, seeing ruins exposed, stones glistening with seaweed. For brief hours, the ocean reveals what it usually hides. Then tide returns, covering once again. That is metaphor for memory itself. Sometimes we glimpse forgotten kingdoms, sometimes we sense echoes of past. But soon everyday life covers them, until another tide reveals. The ocean is not only destroyer but guardian, preserving ruins beneath waves so they are not erased entirely. In this way, tides are not enemies of memory but its custodians, keeping treasures safe until curiosity of humans retrieves them. Now extend metaphor inward. Within you too are drowned kingdoms, selves you once were, ambitions you once carried, loves you once lived. Life's tides covered them, but they are not gone. They wait beneath surface, sometimes revealed in dreams, sometimes in moments of stillness. To honor them is to honor continuity of self, to accept that who you are today is built upon ruins of who you were. Just as civilizations rise upon bones of others, your identity rises upon drowned kingdoms within. The tides of time carry them forward, and they remain part of you, whether you acknowledge or not. So, when we speak of the lost civilizations of the ocean, we speak not only of stones beneath waves, but of tides that remember. They remember Helike, Dwarka, Doggerland, Yonaguni. They remember myths of Lemuria and Mu. They remember not in words, but in rhythm, in debris, in echoes across cultures. To listen to tides is to hear more than waves. It is to hear a chorus of civilizations whispering lessons across millennia. They say respect impermanence, respect ocean, respect fragility. They say what has drowned before can drown again. They say memory survives not in permanence, but in echoes carried by tide. So tonight, as you let waves of sleep carry you, imagine tides whispering in your ear. They tell you of kingdoms that believe themselves eternal, now reefs for fish. They tell you of myths that keep truth alive, now songs in your mind. They tell you that you too are kingdom of tides, fragile yet meaningful. The ocean remembers, and so should you. For only in remembering do we honor those lost, and only in honoring do we live wisely. The ocean's surface is noisy with winds and gulls and crashing surf, but once you descend, the sound fades until only silence remains. It is a silence so complete that it feels heavy, pressing against ears, surrounding body like invisible weight. In this silence, civilizations rest. Their walls do not crumble in echoes, their streets do not hum with voices, their statues do not speak. Yet silence itself becomes their language, a language that asks us to listen differently, not with ears but with imagination. The lost civilizations of the ocean speak not in sound but in absence, not in presence but in void. They remind us that silence too can be archive, that what is unsaid often carries more weight than what is declared. Imagine descending with torch into abyss where light has never reached. Slowly, shadows sharpen into structures, columns rising from sand, stairways leading nowhere. The silence is broken only by bubbles of your breath, yet within your mind a chorus begins. You imagine voices that once filled halls, laughter that once echoed in courtyards, footsteps upon stone now covered in coral. The silence is not empty, it is potential, a canvas upon which memory paints. The civilizations beneath waves may be silent, but they are not gone. Their stones hold stories, and silence is the medium through which we are forced to listen more carefully. One of the clearest examples lies off coast of India, in Bay of Cambay. In early 2000, sonar scans revealed vast structures beneath water, grids of what appeared to be streets, walls, perhaps even temples. Artifacts of stone tools suggested human presence thousands of years ago, possibly predating known civilizations. The silence of depths preserved them until modern instruments revealed outlines. Skeptics argue erosion, natural formations, illusions. Yet whether city or not, the silence forced us to question certainty, to accept possibility that our story is older and more complex. The silence beneath waves unsettles because it refuses easy answers. It keeps us humble, forcing us to admit how little we know. Silence is not passive, it is active. It reshapes memory. When city drowns, survivors tell stories, their children repeat them, and soon myth emerges. The silence of ruins beneath waves ensures that myths fill void. Atlantis thrives precisely because silence of sea never contradicted it. Yonaguni stirs debate because silence of terraces refuses to confirm or deny. Silence provokes imagination more than noise, and so lost civilizations remain alive precisely because they are silent. The ocean's silence is not erasure. It is invitation. This silence is not only external but internal. When you sit alone by shore, watching endless horizon, you too fall silent. The mind quiets, distracted chatter fades, and deeper questions surface. What is permanent? What is fragile? What matters? The silence of ocean awakens silence within, and within that silence you may glimpse ruins of your own past, civilizations of your own self that once thrived but are now submerged. Dreams you abandoned, loves you lost, identities you shed, they rest beneath your consciousness, silent but present. To honor them is to honor continuity of life. The lost civilizations of ocean are mirrored by lost civilizations within. Silence connects both. Consider the silence after catastrophe. When tsunami recedes, when earthquake ends, survivors speak of silence heavier than noise of destruction. In that silence they realize scale of loss. The ocean carries away voices, leaving only absence. Yet from silence, rebuilding begins. It is same with civilizations. After flood, survivors tell stories, but ruins remain silent. It is tension between silence of stones and noise of myths that gives mystery its power. Without silence, myths would not flourish. Without myths, silence would be meaningless. Together they form dialogue that endures centuries. Science too relies on silence. Sonar scans measure how silence responds to sound waves. Archaeologists read silence of ruins, interpreting absence of writing, absence of artifacts. In every excavation beneath sea, what matters is not only what is found but what is missing. The silence of gaps forces imagination, demands interpretation. Lost civilizations remain partly lost precisely because silence resists certainty. They remain alive as questions rather than corpses. Philosophically, silence beneath waves reminds us of humility. We live in a world obsessed with noise, with data, with certainty. Yet the ocean insists that not all can be known, not all can be spoken. It keeps secrets not out of malice but out of necessity. Too much knowledge at once would overwhelm. Silence ensures gradual revelation, piece by piece, generation by generation. In this way, the ocean becomes teacher of patience. The lost civilizations will reveal themselves only when we are ready to hear. Until then, silence reigns, not as absence but as preparation. Imagine walking through drowned city in dream. You feel sand under feet, water pressing against skin. You see walls covered in algae, statues with eyes blinded by coral. You open mouth to speak but realize no sound emerges, only bubbles. You realize silence is not weakness but transformation. In silence you do not command ruins, you surrender to them. You listen not with ears but with spirit. And in that listening you hear more than sound. You hear meaning. The silence of lost civilizations is not mute, it is profound. The silence also warns. It warns that what happened before can happen again. If entire cities vanished without leaving sound, so too can ours. If ocean swallowed empires before, so too can it swallow skyscrapers. The silence is prophetic. It whispers, "Respect me, for I do not forget." The drowned ruins are sermons in silence, preaching humility to those willing to descend. Ignore them, and you repeat history. Listen, and you may live wisely. So let us not fear silence, but embrace it. The silence beneath waves is not enemy, but teacher. It teaches us that not all answers are available, that mystery is part of truth, that imagination fills gaps in ways science alone cannot. It teaches us that memory survives not always in words but in presence, in ruins that refuse to speak but also refuse to vanish. It teaches us that within ourselves, silence reveals truths hidden by noise. The lost civilizations are silent, but they are not gone. Tonight as you drift to sleep, let silence of ocean cradle you. Hear not roar of waves, but depth of stillness beneath. Imagine ruins resting there, patient, dignified, whispering through absence. They remind you to slow, to listen, to accept what cannot be spoken. The silence beneath waves is not void but fullness, not death but transformation. And in that silence, the lost civilizations of the ocean live forever. The ocean is often imagined as enemy of civilization, the force that drowns and erases. Yet there is another way to see it. The ocean may not only destroy, it may also preserve, and perhaps even inspire. For what, if the civilizations we believe lost beneath the sea were not only victims of water but architects who designed with it in mind? The great monuments that we see above ground, pyramids in Egypt, ziggurats in Mesopotamia, temples in Mesoamerica, all share a strange similarity, rising step by step as if mimicking mountains that pierce sky. But beneath the sea, too, there are step pyramids, terraces, walls, structures that suggest builders who saw water not as threat but as collaborator. The lost civilizations of the ocean may not only have fallen into water, they may have risen with it, shaping stone in harmony with tide. Take the mysterious site of Yonaguni again. Its terraces and platforms look not like random erosion but deliberate architecture, grand staircases descending into abyss as though designed for ceremonies involving sea itself. If human-made, then architects must have known that ocean is not stable floor but living partner. Perhaps their rituals honored water gods by building temples half claimed by tide. Perhaps their engineering accepted that sea rises and falls, designing structures that would endure even when submerged. To modernize such vision seems impractical, but perhaps it was wisdom. To build with sea, not against it, is to ensure legacy endures even after flood. The architects of the deep may have embraced impermanence as foundation of their art. Across the globe, other submerged structures suggest similar mindset. Off coast of Malta, divers have found megalithic formations resembling temples. Off Cuba, sonar has hinted at grid-like patterns kilometers beneath waves, sparking speculation of drowned city. In India's Gulf of Kambat, geometric lines stretch across seafloor, too regular to dismiss easily. Whether natural or cultural, the impression remains. There are shapes beneath sea that echo architecture. If they are natural, then our imagination proves hunger for design, seeing intention where there may be none. If they are human, then architects of deep were more advanced than we assumed, their cities drowned not because of ignorance but because of inevitability. Either way, the sea holds stories carved in stone, waiting to be interpreted. Why would civilizations build near or even within sea if risk was so great? The answer is same as today, because sea is wealth. It provides fish, salt, trade, connection. It is highway linking cultures, faster than crossing deserts or forests. Civilizations thrive where rivers meet ocean, where harbors protect ships, where coasts allow agriculture nourished by rains. To live near ocean is gamble, but also opportunity. The architects of deep understood this. They built boldly, accepting risk, because rewards outweighed fear. They may have known floods could come, yet they built anyway, leaving behind ruins that still capture imagination. Their courage echoes across centuries, teaching that progress always involves risk. But perhaps these architects were more than pragmatic. Perhaps they were visionaries who saw ocean as spiritual partner. Many myths describe gods who live beneath waves, kingdoms of merfolk, palaces of Poseidon, temples guarded by sea dragons. To build near ocean was to commune with divine. Rituals likely involved water as sacred element, purification, sacrifice, prayer. Temples built near tide may have allowed worshippers to see waves crash against altars, symbolizing power of gods. When such temples sank, myths transformed them into cities of gods themselves. The architects of deep may have intended this, ensuring their legacy would live not only in stone but in story. Consider also the engineering knowledge required. To build structures that still stand beneath ocean after millennia suggests mastery of stone, balance, design. The architects of deep were not primitive dreamers. They were scientists of their age, experimenting with weight, current, resistance. Their buildings endure not because chance spared them, but because skill ensured survival. Just as pyramids of Giza or Machu Picchu endure, so too do these underwater formations testify to genius of builders. Whether their names are lost matters less than recognition of their craft. The sea may have claimed them, but it also preserved their work as monuments of resilience. The architects of deep also challenge our arrogance. We think we are pinnacle of civilization, yet perhaps others before reached heights we underestimate. Their records may have drowned, their cities may have vanished, but their ingenuity whispers through ruins. To dive among submerged stones is to confront possibility that human story is not linear but cyclical, rising and falling with tides. Perhaps more than once humanity achieved greatness only to be humbled by sea. If so, then lost civilizations are not just curiosities, they are warnings. They say, do not assume permanence. They say, respect ocean, for it erases even genius. Philosophically, architects of deep represent human desire to leave mark against impermanence. To carve stone is to resist tide, to declare presence. Even when sea rises, stones remain, whispering across ages. We too build monuments, skyscrapers, digital archives, believing they will endure, yet tides of time will swallow them too. The lesson is not despair but humility. Build not only in stone but in spirit. Leave legacy not only in monuments but in meaning. The architects of deep left both stone ruins and myths that carry their essence. Their civilizations may be lost, but their message survives. Nothing is eternal, yet everything matters. Imagine walking across submerged terrace in dream. Your hand brushes stone carved thousands of years ago. Your feet step where priests once stood. Around you fish swim through columns, coral paints, statues. The architecture is transformed, but not erased. You realize ocean has become co-architect, reshaping structure, turning temple into reef, palace into sanctuary. It is not destruction, but collaboration. The architects of deep built first, ocean built next. Together they created beauty that neither alone could imagine. This is lesson 2. To see impermanence not as enemy but as partner. To allow change to create new forms of beauty. In your own life, you too are architect of deep. You build ambitions, relationships, dreams. Time and crisis may drown some, but they are not erased. They become foundations upon which new selves rise. The ocean within collaborates, reshaping ruins into wisdom. You are not defeated by tides of life. You are transformed. The lost civilizations remind you that fragility is not end, but process. That drowning is not death, but rebirth. To live wisely is to build boldly yet accept loss gracefully, to trust that even in ruins, meaning survives. So when we honor the architects of the deep, we honor not only ancient builders but spirit of humanity itself. We honor courage to build near sea, skill to carve enduring stone, vision to see divine in waves, humility to accept loss. Their ruins beneath ocean are not failures but victories, proof that human creativity transcends time. The ocean may silence their names, but it cannot silence their brilliance. The architects of the deep built for eternity, and in a way, they succeeded. For here we are, millennia later, still speaking of them, still marveling, still learning. Tonight as you drift to sleep, imagine yourself as one of them. You design temple upon shore, knowing sea may one day rise. You carve stone with patience, aligning it to stars, to tides, to gods. You know your work may drown, but you build anyway, because meaning lies not in permanence, but in act itself. The ocean may take, but it also gives, preserving your art as mystery for future dreamers. You close your eyes, and silence of deep becomes symphony of memory. The architects of the deep speak to you, and their voice is your own. Every civilization that has ever built upon the shore has known, consciously or unconsciously, that the sea is both giver and taker. The lost civilizations of the ocean are not only cities swallowed by sudden catastrophe, but also worlds erased slowly by floods, swallowed inch by inch, century by century, until they lived only in memory. These floods are not minor accidents, but events that reshaped human culture, planted myths of punishment and renewal, and carved into the psyche of our ancestors the truth that nothing endures. To understand the floods is to understand why so many cultures tell stories of drowning, why every tradition has echoes of the sea's power, and why memory of water lingers in our collective imagination like a ghost. The first flood that shaped memory is written in nearly every myth, the Great Deluge. In Mesopotamia, scribes etched into clay the tale of Utnapishtim, survivor of flood sent by gods to erase humanity's arrogance, saved only because he built ark to carry life. In Hebrew scripture, Noah's story echoes same pattern: boat upon waters, dove seeking land, rainbow promising renewal. In India, the myth of Manu describes sage warned by fish god to build ark before flood, carrying seeds of life. In Mesoamerica, the Maya spoke of floods that ended ages, sweeping away men of wood. Across Pacific, Polynesian chants recall waves that covered islands, leaving only mountaintops as refuge. It is no coincidence these stories align. They are not independent inventions. They are shared trauma of humanity living near coasts during great floods of prehistory. Science confirms background to myth. At end of last ice age, glaciers melted, seas rose more than 100 meters, drowning vast plains that had been home to humans for thousands of years. Doggerland, stretching between Britain and Europe, was once fertile hunting ground, slowly erased by rising North Sea. Sundaland, vast landmass connecting islands of Southeast Asia, became archipelago of Indonesia, its rivers swallowed, its plains submerged. Beringia, bridge between Asia and Americas, was lost beneath Arctic waters. Each of these was homeland, lost not in single night but over centuries. Yet to those who lived there, waters rising each generation must have felt like endless punishment. Myths of great flood may be cultural memory of these real drownings, passed through song and story until transformed into sacred scripture. Imagine families living upon Doggerland, watching horizon advance over decades. Each generation losing more land, forced to retreat inland. Villages abandoned, fields drowned, sacred sites claimed by tide. They would have told children stories of sea's hunger, of gods angry, of warnings to respect coast. When land was finally gone, survivors carried these stories into Europe, embedding memory of flood into myth. Centuries later, scribes wrote them down, giving birth to stories we know today. The floods are not fantasy, they are history remembered through metaphor. But floods did not only erase, they also transformed. They forced migration, spreading cultures across new lands. They forced innovation, pushing people to build boats, to navigate, to trade. Floods humbled but also expanded horizons. Without them, humans might have remained confined to small regions. With them, Humans became seafarers, carrying myths and memories across oceans. The lost civilizations are not only warnings of fragility, but catalysts of growth. From ruin emerged resilience, from drowning emerged discovery. Consider Black Sea, where some scientists propose catastrophic flood thousands of years ago when Mediterranean breached natural dam at Bosporus, pouring salt water into freshwater basin. Such event would have drowned vast settlements, forcing survivors to flee. Some suggest this inspired Mesopotamian flood myths. Whether true or not, it shows how sudden floods leave lasting marks. Ocean advances not slowly but with violence, erasing in days what took centuries to build. Survivors remember, and memory becomes myth. In Indian Ocean, similar floods may underlie stories of Kumari Kandam, vast land drowned. As ice melted, coasts of Tamil regions retreated, submerging settlements. Survivors preserved memory through poetry, turning tragedy into narrative of golden age lost. The myth is not mere invention but response to trauma of flood. Across world, similar patterns emerge. Land lost, myth born, memory carried. The floods shaped not only geography but consciousness. Philosophically, floods reveal paradox of memory. They erase physically but preserve spiritually. They take stones but leave stories. They drown cities but birth myths. In this sense, floods are not only destroyers but creators. They create narrative, they create caution, they create humility. Without them, perhaps humans would forget fragility. With them, humans remember, even if memory is transformed into legend. Imagine standing in your house as water rises slowly, year after year. At first you adjust, building higher, retreating slightly inland, but water does not stop. Within lifetime, entire street is gone, church submerged, graveyard claimed. You tell children stories of land that once stretched farther, warning them to respect ocean. They grow, tell their children, and soon memory of land becomes myth of paradise lost. This is how floods shape culture, how history becomes legend. Modern science continues to uncover drowned landscapes. Sonar scans of North Sea reveal river channels, hills, even ancient forests beneath waves. Artifacts dredged include tools, bones, carvings. These are not mere stories but tangible evidence of lost worlds. Yet science too recognizes limits. For every artifact recovered, countless others remain hidden. Ocean guards more than it reveals. Silence persists, reminding us that what we know is fragment of whole. The floods also remind us of our present. Today seas rise again, inch by inch, not by melting glaciers of natural cycle but by human-driven warming. Coasts already retreat, islands already sink. Our cities, built with arrogance like Atlantis, stand vulnerable. Miami, Jakarta, Dhaka, all threatened by waters advancing. History repeats, cycle continues. The floods that shaped memory in past will shape future too. The question is whether we will learn. Will our descendants tell myths of 21st century flood, or will we act with humility and foresight? The lost civilizations are not only past, they are preview of what may come. So what do floods teach? They teach that permanence is illusion. They teach that arrogance invites ruin. They teach that resilience is survival. They teach that memory endures beyond stone. The great floods shaped who we are, carving humility into our psyche, inspiring myths that still guide us. To ignore their lesson is to repeat their fate. To honor their lesson is to live wisely, respecting ocean, respecting fragility, respecting life. Tonight as you drift into sleep, let memory of floods wash over you. Imagine lost lands beneath waves, families fleeing, myths born. Feel humility of impermanence, gratitude for resilience, wonder at continuity of human story. The floods may erase, but they also remind. They are chapters written in water, preserved in myth, carried in memory. The lost civilizations of ocean live not only in ruins, but in floods that shaped us all. The ocean has always been the throne of gods. Long before human beings understood tectonic plates or climate cycles, they understood fear and awe, and they projected that awe onto the waves. Civilizations that rose upon coasts did not only build harbors and markets, they built temples that faced the water, shrines where priests prayed for calm seas and rich harvests. And when floods or tsunamis came and cities were drowned, it was not only people who sank beneath the waves, but their gods as well. The lost civilizations of the ocean are not only ruins of houses and streets, they are graves of deities, sanctuaries of faith now resting in silence, their altars guarded by coral, their idols watched by schools of fish. To imagine them is to imagine not only history erased, but divinity submerged. In the Aegean, myths tell of Poseidon, lord of the sea, who punished arrogance with flood. Atlantis itself, as Plato described, fell because its people forgot humility and angered gods. To think of Atlantis sinking is to think of temples collapsing too, statues of gods pulled into depths, prayers silenced beneath foam. The priests who once raised offerings now dragged into currents. For survivors, the loss was not only material, it was spiritual, the sense that even gods could not resist water's judgment. Yet memory preserved them, and centuries later we still invoke Poseidon when waves rise, still imagine tridents flashing in storm. The gods sank, but they did not vanish, they transformed into myth. Immortal in story, though drowned in stone. Travel eastward to India, where stories speak of Dwarka, city of Krishna. After his death, the ocean claimed the city, swallowing palaces and temples. Divers today find ruins beneath water near modern Dwarka, streets and walls where legends say gods once walked. For believers, these ruins are proof that divinity touched earth, that gods built cities only to surrender them to ocean. For skeptics, they are evidence of human settlement lost to rising seas. But for both the image endures, gods sinking with their people, not immune to tide, not shielded from flood. Divinity itself, humbled by water. In Japan, shrines stand near coasts where myths recall dragons of sea and kami who dwell in waves. Legends speak of Ryugu, palace of dragon god beneath ocean, where time flows differently and mortals who visit cannot return unchanged. When tsunamis struck, these shrines too were sometimes claimed, washed away with villages. Survivors rebuilt, but always with sense that gods themselves had shifted, moved deeper into sea, waiting for new worshippers. The drowned shrines became offerings themselves, sacrifices accepted by ocean. Across Pacific, Polynesian traditions describe gods who shaped islands and then withdrew them. In some stories, gods grew angry and sank lands, leaving only reefs. In others, entire islands disappeared beneath waves after chiefs defied divine will. These tales are not only cosmology but memory, attempts to explain why familiar lands vanished. The gods were not distant, they were participants in floods. Their altars may now be reefs, their statues toppled, but their presence persists in chants sung across generations. South America, too, carries such echoes. In Andean myths, Viracocha is said to have emerged from waters after great flood, reshaping world. Some versions say he destroyed earlier races with deluge, sparing only chosen survivors. The gods did not prevent flood, they commanded it. For civilizations along coasts, gods and water were inseparable, and when flood came, gods themselves seemed to drown. But faith did not end. It adapted, reshaping deities into symbols of survival, resilience, and renewal. Archaeology occasionally confirms these stories with haunting detail. In Turkey, at site of Heraklion near Nile Delta, divers have found colossal statues of gods lying beneath Mediterranean, toppled yet intact, faces serene despite drowning. Once Heraklion was gateway to Egypt, bustling with temples and markets. Earthquakes and floods sank it, but statues remain, preserved in silt. When divers light them with torches, it feels as though gods still reside there, watching patiently. The silence of ocean becomes their new temple. Philosophically, gods sinking with people remind us that even our highest ideals are not immune to impermanence. Temples crumble, scriptures drown, statues fall, yet meaning endures, reshaped into myth. The ocean humbles not only humanity but divinity itself, showing that nothing material is eternal, that even gods as represented in stone must surrender to tide. But paradoxically, this surrender ensures survival, because myths outlast monuments. The temple may drown, but story lives. The idol may erode, but faith persists. Ocean destroys physical, but immortalizes spiritual. Imagine walking among ruins of Heracleion in dream. Statues taller than houses lie upon sand, their hands reaching upward, their faces still serene. Around them, fish swim like worshippers, coral clings like offerings. You feel both grief and reverence, grief for drowned city, reverence for endurance of meaning. You realize gods did not die with flood, they were transformed into guardians of deep. The ocean became their cathedral, their silence became hymn. The drowned gods remind you that faith too adapts, surviving catastrophe by shifting form. In your own life, consider ideals you hold as sacred. Ambitions, principles, dreams. When crisis comes, when wave of life floods your house, those ideals too may drown. You may feel betrayed, abandoned by what you trusted. Yet like gods of lost civilizations, your ideals do not vanish, they transform. They reemerge as myths within you, lessons preserved in memory, guiding you in new forms. The flood humbles but also refines, burning away illusion, leaving essence. The gods sink with you, but they rise again in story. The lost civilizations remind us that faith is not destroyed by water, it is tempered. Atlantis, Dwarka, Heracleion, each drowned, each remembered. Their gods humbled but not erased. Their temples silent but not forgotten. The ocean humbles but memory elevates. The waves claim stone but cannot claim meaning. The gods of lost civilizations still dwell in ocean, whispering to divers, echoing in myths, reminding us that even in drowning there is transcendence. So tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine not empty ruins but sanctuaries beneath waves, temples glowing with bioluminescent fish, idols crowned with coral, statues standing patient in silence. They are not gone, they are transformed. They wait for us not to worship but to remember, not to fear but to respect. The gods sank with their people, but their voices rise in every wave. To listen is to honor both them and ourselves. For we too are fragile, we too will drown, but our meaning, like theirs, will endure. Cartography is more than science, it is memory etched upon paper. For millennia, humans have drawn maps, not only of places they knew but of places they imagined, places they dreamed, and places they feared. Among these maps are strange coastlines, phantom islands, and hints of continents that never appear today. Some dismiss them as errors, exaggerations of sailors drunk on myth. Yet when we study these maps with patience, they may reveal something else. Fragments of civilizations lost to the ocean, whispers of lands once above water, remembered imperfectly but remembered nonetheless. The maps that lied may have been telling truths we did not yet understand. One of the most famous is the Reefs map of 1513, drawn by an Ottoman admiral using sources he claimed were far older. On this map, not only Europe and Africa are drawn with startling accuracy, but also coasts of South America and what some argue resembles Antarctica without ice. If true, such precision would require knowledge from civilizations predating known history. Skeptics insist it is coincidence, misinterpretation, or lucky guess. Yet the possibility lingers. Perhaps ancient mariners charted lands long before we think, and perhaps they inherited fragments from civilizations now drowned. The ocean may have swallowed their cities, but their maps survived as distorted echoes, carried forward by sailors who did not fully understand what they preserved. The Vinland map, controversial and debated, suggests Norse reached North America before Columbus, which we now know true thanks to archaeological evidence at Lansay Oaks Meadows. What was once dismissed as fantasy became fact. This should humble us when judging other maps. The ocean guards secrets, and sometimes the lies of cartography are only truths not yet proven. Phantom islands like Hy Brasil, often marked off west coast of Ireland, appear on maps for centuries. Sailors swore they saw it, described mountains, trees, lights. Today we call it myth, yet sonar has revealed submerged features in Atlantic that could match. Perhaps Hy Brasil was not invention but memory of land now drowned. Ancient Chinese records too describe lands across seas, some identifiable, others mysterious. Polynesian stick charts recorded swells and currents in ways modern science admires, but they also hinted at islands now gone. In Pacific, oral maps carried by chance tell of voyages to islands that no longer exist, perhaps submerged volcanoes or coral atolls erased by rising seas. To dismiss them as lies is to underestimate both ocean and memory. The maps we inherit may not always align with our world, but perhaps they aligned with world that was before floods reclaimed it. Consider also medieval maps filled with monsters, serpents, and kingdoms beneath sea. On surface these seem fantasy, but perhaps they encode warnings. A serpent might symbolize dangerous current, a sea monster a reef or island. A city drawn upon ocean may recall place once real, now drowned. Medieval cartographers combined geography with mythology because they understood ocean as both physical and metaphysical. Their maps lied, but their lies told truths about human experience with sea truths of fear, wonder, and memory. Philosophically, maps that lied remind us of limits of knowledge. We pretend our maps today are perfect, satellites charting every coastline. But even now, the ocean floor remains less known than the surface of Mars. We too live with incomplete maps, illusions of certainty. Our ancestors knew they did not know, and so they filled spaces with imagination. Their errors were acts of honesty, admissions of mystery. Lost civilizations may survive in those blanks, in coastlines drawn too long, in islands marked but absent. To study them is to glimpse humility and ambition of humanity before arrogance of modern precision. Imagine holding Piri Reis map in candlelight. You trace coasts of Africa, then your finger drifts to bottom, to strange southern continent. You wonder, who drew this first? Was it sailor from land now lost, whose harbor lies beneath waves, whose knowledge outlived city? Was it fragment carried by refugees of flood, preserved through generations? You realize maps are not just geography, they are inheritance, stories told in lines. Even when they lie, they carry truths we cannot yet measure. The ocean itself is mapmaker. Its currents trace routes invisible to us, moving debris, seeds, and even fragments of pottery across continents. A shell found in Mediterranean may have drifted from Red Sea. A coconut may wash upon Irish shore from Caribbean. These too are maps, fluid, dynamic, reminding us that boundaries are illusions. Civilizations connected across waters long before we imagine, perhaps by accident, perhaps by design. The lies of maps may be testimonies of these connections, distorted but real. In your own life, think of maps you draw unconsciously, expectations of future, memories of past. You chart paths you believe certain, only to find land missing, coastlines wrong. Yet those errors are not failures, they are signs of imagination. They guide you even when wrong, they push you forward, and sometimes their lies become truths you later uncover. Life too is cartography, and we are all mapmakers of our own oceans. The lost civilizations of the ocean live not only in ruins but in maps. They survive in lines drawn by trembling hands, in islands half-remembered, in coasts imagined. The maps may have lied, but within their lies truths hid, truths of lands drowned, of journeys forgotten, of civilizations erased but not silent. To read them is to listen to whispers, to see absence as presence, to honor memory preserved in ink. Tonight, as you close your eyes, let yourself drift upon parchment seas. Imagine phantom islands glowing faintly, continents rising where today only waves remain. The maps may be wrong, but they invite you to dream. And in that dream truth emerges. The ocean remembers, and so do its maps, even when they lie. Every civilization leaves behind records of itself. Some carve in stone, others inscribe on papyrus, others preserve on clay, parchment, or digital cloud. Yet all records face same enemy: time. Fire burns manuscripts, wars loot scrolls, insects devour paper. But the ocean is different. It does not burn. It drowns, and in drowning, it both erases and preserves. Beneath the sea may lie not only temples and walls, but also libraries, repositories of knowledge that once guided entire peoples. To imagine the lost civilizations of the ocean is to imagine libraries beneath waves, shelves of memory now guarded by silence and salt. Legends whisper of such libraries. Plato's Atlantis was not only city of power but of wisdom, center of learning drowned by gods. Egyptian priests, who told Solon the story, spoke of knowledge lost, wisdom erased. In Alexandria, The great library perished by fire, but how many smaller libraries perished by flood? Coastal cities of Phoenicians, Greeks, Indians, and Chinese surely held archives, now claimed by tide. The ocean may be keeper of more books than any surviving land library, though they lie unreadable in silt. Yet fragments survive, and they whisper of what might still wait. In India's Gulf of Cambodge, divers recovered artifacts of wood and pottery tens of thousands of years old, suggesting presence of settlement far older than written history. If such a settlement kept records, where are they now? Perhaps drowned, dissolved, transformed. Yet even absence speaks. The missing words invite imagination, push us to reconstruct. The silence of ocean is filled with echoes of libraries erased. Consider also submerged ruins of Heracleion and Canopus near Nile. Inscriptions carved upon stelae survive, preserved in sand. Divers read prayers and decrees once displayed in temples, texts that survived centuries underwater better than papyrus on land. Here, ocean was archivist, burying under silt, protecting from fire and plunder. The drowned library is paradox. It erases paper yet protects stone. What knowledge might still lie there, unread, awaiting rediscovery? The Dead Sea Scrolls remind us of chance of preservation. Though not beneath ocean, they survived millennia, sealed in caves, showing that under right conditions fragile texts endure. The ocean, too, provides such conditions. Shipwrecks discovered with manuscripts intact prove that ink can survive saltwater if sealed. Imagine not only ships but entire archives submerged, waiting. The libraries of lost civilizations may not be fantasy but fact, fragments still resting under waves, sealed in jars, locked in stone. Philosophically, libraries beneath sea embody paradox of memory. They represent wisdom drowned yet also preserved. They force us to accept that knowledge is fragile, that progress is reversible. We assume linear ascent of knowledge, from fire to internet. But floods remind us that wisdom can be lost overnight. Perhaps civilizations before ours reached heights we cannot imagine, only to see their libraries erased by sea. We dismiss this because we cannot find evidence, but absence of evidence is not evidence of absence. The ocean may hold it still, waiting for moment we are humble enough to look. Imagine walking in dream through drowned library. Shelves of coral, scrolls turned to seaweed, books glowing faintly with bioluminescence. You open one, and words emerge, not as ink, but as fish swimming into patterns. Each fish a letter, each school a sentence. The ocean rewrites library and language of life, ensuring wisdom endures even if form transforms. You realize knowledge is not lost, it is translated. What once was text becomes reef. What once was philosophy becomes ecosystem. The ocean itself is library, its currents lines, its creatures annotations. But there is also warning. Our own civilization stores knowledge in fragile media, hard drives, servers, magnetic tapes. When seas rise, when floods come, how much will survive? Data centers near coasts may drown, archives may vanish. We may repeat fate of Atlantis, not by divine punishment, but by negligence. Our wisdom may be erased not because it was wrong, but because it was vulnerable. The libraries of ocean remind us to protect knowledge not only on land but also against sea. In your own life, consider libraries within you, memories, lessons, experiences. They too face floods, stress, time, forgetfulness. Some drown, lost forever. Others endure, preserved in silence. You carry your own drowned libraries within. When you dream, fragments resurface like artifacts dredged from silt. To honor them is to recognize fragility of self, to preserve wisdom before it vanishes. The drowned libraries teach humility not only for civilizations but for individuals. History too shows how easily knowledge disappears. Mayan codices burned by conquerors, Aztec texts erased, Polynesian chants silenced. Imagine how much more was lost when oceans rose. Entire philosophies may have vanished. Technologies we consider modern may have existed before, only to be forgotten when their libraries drowned. Myths of advanced ancient civilizations may reflect fragments of this memory. Perhaps they discovered astronomy, navigation, even science we cannot yet comprehend. If so, ocean holds their proof, waiting. The ocean's libraries may not be books but landscapes. Coral reefs shaped like scripts, currents encoding information, migration patterns of whales carrying ancestral memory. We think of library as building, but perhaps ocean itself is library, its waves pages, its tides punctuation. The lost civilizations did not lose knowledge entirely, they translated it into ocean's language. To read ocean is to read book written in rhythm, silence, and flow. So tonight, as you close your eyes, imagine descending into drowned archive. You pass through corridors of silence, touch inscriptions carved in stone, hold jars sealed for millennia. You cannot read all, but you feel weight of wisdom preserved. You realize you too are archivist, responsible for carrying fragments forward. The libraries beneath sea remind you to value knowledge, to protect it, to pass it on. For without care, it will drown, and only myths will remain. But with care, even if sea claims stone, meaning will survive, flowing like tide across generations. To speak of lost civilizations is to speak of ruins, of stones broken, of silence. Yet what if the cities beneath the sea are not entirely dead? What if they still breathe, not in the sense of bustling markets and marching armies, but in subtler rhythms? Fish inhabit avenues, corals crown pillars, currents sweep streets with regularity. The drowned cities are not corpses but metamorphoses, civilizations that continue in another form, transfigured by the ocean into ecosystems and myths. To walk among them and dream is to feel heartbeat of stone, pulse of memory, breath of history still exhaled into water. They may be lost to us, but not to the ocean. To the ocean they are alive, woven into cycle of tide. Consider Pavlopetri again, the Mycenaean city beneath shallow waters of Greece. Divers map its streets, its courtyards, its tombs. To archaeologists it is ruin, to sea it is sanctuary. Fish dart through doorways, seaweed sways like curtains, crabs guard thresholds. The city has adapted, repurposed, reimagined. It is not gone, it is different. The same is true for Dwarka, Heracleion, and others. Where priests once chanted, eels now coil. Where children once played, dolphins now pass. Where rulers once held court, currents rule. The cities still breathe, not in human language, but in oceans. Even myth recognizes this continuity. Legends of mermaids and sea kings may be memories of drowned people transfigured into beings of water. Survivors of flood may have imagined loved ones still living beneath waves, transformed into guardians. Myths of sirens luring sailors may reflect sense that cities still call, still breathe, voices echoing from deep. Atlantis itself is often described not as corpse but as realm still existing, hidden, thriving beneath. The idea of cities alive undersea endures because deep within, we sense that nothing truly vanishes, it only changes. Science too confirms this transformation. Sunken ships become artificial reefs, colonized by coral, attracting life. The same happens to drowned cities. Stone provides foundation, ocean supplies artistry. Within decades, ruins pulse with life more diverse than land. Thus, ocean does not only erase, it creates. The drowned civilizations breathe in fish, in coral, in rhythm of tide. They are ecological as well as historical, archives of life as much as of culture. Philosophically, to accept that cities still breathe is to accept transformation as form of survival. We cling to permanence, despair when stone crumbles. But perhaps survival lies not in resisting change but in embracing it. The drowned civilizations did not end. They evolved. They traded markets for reefs, palaces for sanctuaries. They breathe differently, but they breathe. So too in our lives. When dreams drown, when plans collapse, perhaps they are not gone but transformed, still breathing in new shapes we do not yet recognize. To see them requires humility, imagination, patience. Imagine descending into Dwarka. The walls are worn, the columns tilted, yet schools of silver fish weave patterns like processions. You see rhythm, coordination, as if echo of festivals once held there persists in another form. The city breathes. You touch stone, feel vibration not from your hand but from sea itself. The city's pulse, subtle but real, whispers through currents. It is alive in ways beyond human measure. You realize loss is never total, transformation always follows. This idea also reshapes how we view myths. The story of drowned gods, drowned cities, drowned wisdom is not about finality but about transformation. The gods did not die, they became guardians. The cities did not vanish, they became reefs. The wisdom did not vanish, it became myth. In every case, what was lost breathed differently, continued in new form. The ocean teaches continuity through change, immortality through transformation. In your own heart, too, there are drowned cities. Loves you thought gone, ambitions you thought failed, selves you thought buried. Yet, if you look carefully, you find them breathing still. They live in habits, in memories, in subtle influences shaping choices. They are not gone, they are transformed. To honor them is to accept complexity of self, to see continuity where you feared rupture. You are ocean to your own past, and within you the drowned cities still breathe. The cities beneath sea also breathe through us. Divers who visit them feel awe, carry stories home, inspire curiosity. Myths told across centuries breathe life into ruins, ensuring they are never silent. Even our conversation now breathes life into them, making them alive in imagination. In this way they are never lost, always present, always breathing. The ocean erases stone but not story. Silence is noise but not meaning. So tonight, as you prepare for sleep, imagine yourself drifting above such city. You feel water on skin, silence in ears, yet beneath you city breathes. Lights of bioluminescent creatures glow like lanterns, currents hum like chants, ruins pulse like heart. You are witness to survival beyond form, life beyond loss. The drowned civilizations breathe, and through them, so do you. Every civilization leaves behind music. It may be drums echoing through valleys, flutes carved from bone, chants rising around fires, or hymns offered in stone temples. Unlike monuments or libraries, music does not endure in stone. It is fragile, vanishing as quickly as it is sung. Yet paradoxically, music endures in memory, in rhythm, in echo. And when civilization drowns, what happens to its music? The answer is that the waves remember. The ocean itself becomes the instrument, carrying songs across horizons, whispering melodies through shells, repeating refrains in tides. The lost civilizations of the ocean still sing, not with human voices but with waves that crash, currents that hum, whales that moan, winds that howl across water. To listen carefully is to hear symphony of ruins, choir of the drowned songs preserved not in ink but in movement of sea. Legends speak of such songs. The sirens of Greek myth lured sailors with voices too beautiful to resist. Perhaps memory of drowned women, or perhaps personification of ocean's own song, whispering of cities beneath waves. The Irish myth of Hy-Brasil speaks of island that appears only once every 7 years, its presence often marked by strange music carried on wind. In Polynesia, chants recall islands sunk beneath surf, their songs said to continue beneath sea, carried by whales. These myths share theme, that ocean carries voices of lost. They are not silent, they sing. Science too supports this metaphor in subtle ways. Sound travels faster and farther in water than in air. A whisper in ocean can travel miles. A whale's call can cross entire basins. If music is vibration, then ocean is perfect archive, carrying vibrations long after surface has forgotten. Coral reefs, too, produce soundscapes, crackling of shrimp, calls of fish, resonance of waves. Divers describe them as orchestras, each species an instrument. Perhaps drowned cities join this orchestra, their ruins shaping echoes, their stones amplifying hum. The songs of lost civilizations are woven into marine soundscape, remembered by sea itself. Consider Heracleion once more. When divers swim through its ruins, they report strange acoustics. Sound echoes differently, bubbles resonate strangely. Imagine priests chanting there centuries ago, their voices amplified by stone, carried into water when flood came. Even now, ocean may still repeat fragments of those chants, transformed into resonance felt rather than heard. The waves remember not lyrics but rhythm, not melody but vibration. The essence of song survives, even if form has changed. Philosophically, this reminds us that nothing is lost, only transformed. Music, like civilization, may vanish in form but endure in essence. Our own lives echo this. Songs we once loved linger in memory, even if we cannot recall every note. They shape us subtly, influencing moods, guiding choices. In same way, drowned civilizations shape us through echoes. We may not hear their songs directly, but their rhythms influence culture, myth, and imagination. The waves remember for us. Imagine drifting to sleep by shore. You hear waves crashing, rhythmic, endless. You realize they are not random but patterned, like heartbeat. Each wave a drum, each crash a chord. Beneath, currents hum bass notes, wind plays flute, gulls add chorus. The ocean is orchestra, and within it, the songs of drowned civilizations breathe. They may not sound like human music, but they carry same essence, memory, rhythm, meaning. To listen is to connect with past beyond words. In your own life, think of times you felt inexplicable pull to ocean, a sense of longing, nostalgia without cause. Perhaps you were hearing songs of drowned civilizations, whispers of ancestors whose homes were lost, whose chants still echo. Genetic memory may carry fragments of trauma from floods that shaped humanity. Cultural memory certainly does, embedded in myths of deluge. When you feel that pull, you are listening to songs remembered by waves, songs older than language, songs of survival. The lost civilizations of ocean live in these songs. Atlantis sings through every myth retold. Dwarka sings through prayers of devotees. Doggerland sings through DNA of descendants who moved inland. Yonaguni sings through debates of divers. The songs do not die, they evolve. They are remembered by waves, carried across horizons, whispered into ears of dreamers like you. To hear them is to honor them, to admit that past still sings, that memory never vanishes entirely. So tonight, as you close eyes, imagine ocean as giant harp, strings stretched by currents, plucked by tides, resonating with history. Hear voices of drowned priests, laughter of children, chants of sailors. They are faint but present, woven into sound of sea. You need not decode lyrics, you need only feel rhythm. For in rhythm lies continuity, and in continuity lies survival. The lost civilizations may be silent in stone, but in waves they are eternal chorus, reminding us that nothing truly dies if it is remembered. When we imagine civilizations drowned, we picture only water, but before the sea claimed them, many of those civilizations knew fire. They lit fires in temples, fires in homes, fires that symbolized knowledge, faith, and continuity. And when the waters rushed in, did those fires vanish entirely? Not quite. The sea extinguished flames of wood and oil, but the deeper fire of spirit endured, carried in memory, transformed into myth. The lost civilizations of the ocean are not only stories of drowning, but of flame that could not be drowned, fire that continues to burn within us whenever we remember them. Take Atlantis as the eternal example. Plato did not describe it as merely wealthy or powerful, but as radiant, with palaces gleaming like flames against horizon. When it sank, water claimed stone, but the image of brilliance survived. The fire of Atlantis burned in imagination, spreading across centuries, inspiring explorers, writers, dreamers. Its flames could not be extinguished. Because they were not physical, they were metaphysical, fire of human yearning for greatness. The sea drowned city, but could not drown the dream. In India's Dwarka too, legends describe temples where lamps of Krishna burn night and day, flames symbolizing divine presence. When ocean swallowed city, lamps were snuffed, but believers kept fire alive in rituals, prayers, festivals. Even today, devotees light lamps for Krishna, keeping memory of Dwarka burning. The ocean claimed stone, but fire survived in faith. Here we see how civilizations are never entirely lost, because their inner fire continues in hearts of descendants. Consider also Pompeii, though not drowned by sea but buried by ash, its fires extinguished by volcanic fury, yet its memory preserved. Why mention Pompeii? Because it reveals how catastrophe transforms but does not erase. Like drowned cities, it teaches us that physical fire dies, but symbolic fire endures. Pompeii lives today not as ash heap, but as warning, as story. In same way, the drowned cities live not as ruins, but as flames in imagination. Off the coast of Japan, legends of Ryugu speak of glowing palaces beneath sea, illuminated not by flame but by jewels and bioluminescent fish. Perhaps memory of real city, perhaps pure myth, yet theme is same. Even beneath sea, light survives. The fire transforms into glow of ocean life. In Caribbean myths, too, drowned islands are said to shine beneath water, their streets still glowing faintly. Fire never dies, it only changes form. Philosophically, fire represents meaning. To live is to carry flame, to build is to protect it, to love is to share it. When civilization drowns, its structures die, but its meaning may burn on. Fire is continuity of spirit, and the ocean cannot extinguish spirit. This is why myths survive, why memory persists, why ruins inspire awe. The sea is mighty, but flame of human meaning is mightier still. Imagine descending into Heracleion in dream. Statues stand silent, algae cling to walls. Yet in your mind you see torches still burning, priests still chanting. You realize flame never truly died. It was carried inward, into myth, into memory. The ocean drowned city, but not fire, because fire was never in torches but in hearts. And as you swim through ruins, you feel warmth, faint but real, fire that endures beneath waves. In your own life too, floods come, dreams drowned, plans washed away. But within you fire remains. It may flicker, it may dim, but it does not extinguish. Like civilizations of past, your meaning endures. You carry flame forward, lighting path through darkness. To honor lost civilizations is to honor fire of resilience, to see that nothing external can drown inner flame. The fires that the sea could not extinguish also live in culture. Myths of flood are retold in scripture, literature, film. They burn in collective imagination, sparking curiosity. Every explorer searching for Atlantis, every diver in Dwarka, every storyteller evoking Lemuria is tending fire, keeping it alive. The ocean may cover stones, but it cannot cover imagination. Fire leaps across centuries, burning brighter because of mystery. Even science carries flame. Archaeologists descending into ruins are like priests with torches, bringing light to darkness. Their discoveries ignite curiosity, fuel wonder. The act of exploration itself is fire, burning against silence of sea. As long as humans seek, as long as we imagine, the fires will never die. The lost civilizations breathe not only in ruins but in flames of those who remember. So tonight, as you prepare for rest, imagine torch burning beneath sea. It glows steady, unbothered by currents, undimmed by waves. Around it swim memories of cities, shadows of gods, echoes of chants. The ocean cannot touch this fire, for it is not of wood or oil, it is of spirit, and that spirit is yours too. You are heir of fire, guardian of flame. The lost civilizations live within you whenever you remember them, whenever you honor them, whenever you keep their fire burning in your mind. Every civilization buries its kings with grandeur. In Egypt, pyramids rose from desert like mountains of eternity. In China, entire armies of clay were sealed underground. In the Americas, golden offerings filled tombs of rulers. But when cities drown, what happens to their kings? The ocean is not selective. It does not spare rulers for their crowns. It claims palaces and hovels alike. Yet to imagine the lost civilizations of the ocean is to imagine royal tombs lying silent beneath waves, crowns encrusted with coral, thrones buried in sand, regalia guarded not by priests but by fish. The graves of kings beneath waves may be the most haunting relics of all, for they remind us that even the most powerful are humbled by water. Legends speak of drowned kings. Atlantis was ruled by dynasties who believed themselves favored by gods, yet their arrogance drew punishment. When cities sank, so did their royal halls, their gold, their power. Plato described palaces of orichalcum, shining metal now unknown. Imagine thrones glowing as floodwaters surged, crowns torn from brows, kings drowned alongside subjects. Their graves lie beneath waves, unmarked, their names whispered only in myth. The ocean buried them, but memory refused to forget. Atlantis remains alive, not because of its king's strength, but because of their downfall, eternal reminder that arrogance meets water. In India, Dwarka was said to be city of Krishna himself, God and king. When he departed, ocean rose to claim city. If true, then the grave of king there is not tomb but entire city, drowned as one vast offering. For believers, Krishna did not die but ascended, leaving behind ruins as testimony. Yet for others, drowned streets remain his grave, silent monument to divine ruler humbled by tide. Whether divine or mortal, the pattern is same. Kings too are claimed by sea. In Europe, myths of Celtic kings speak of lands drowned as punishment for their misdeeds. Cantrair Gwaelod in Wales was said to be rich kingdom ruled carelessly until sea claimed it. In Brittany, tales of Eos tell of city whose king failed to restrain daughter's pride, resulting in flood. These myths remember drowned rulers as warnings. Their graves lie beneath coasts, their stories carried in waves. For centuries, fishermen swore they could hear bells of ease ringing from beneath waves on stormy nights, the song of drowned king calling from grave. Even archaeology suggests truth. In Heracleion, colossal statues of pharaohs and gods lie toppled beneath Mediterranean. These were rulers immortalized in stone, now drowned. Their graves are not pyramids but seafloor, where divers illuminate their faces with lamps. To gaze upon them is to feel chill of mortality. Kings who once commanded armies now silent, guarded only by anemones. Their crowns still shine, but with incrustations of sea. The ocean mocked their ambition but preserved their likeness, humbling yet immortalizing. Philosophically, the graves of kings beneath waves remind us of ultimate equality. Power, wealth, glory, none resists tide. In our lives too, ambitions may feel mighty, crowns heavy, but flood of time will claim all. The kings within us, our pride, our ego, will drown. Yet this is not despair but liberation. For when kings drown, humanity remains. When crowns sink, meaning rises. The ocean teaches humility by drowning thrones, yet in doing so, it frees us from illusions of permanence. Imagine descending into royal tomb beneath sea in dream. Pillars loom, gold glitters faintly, jewels sparkle with fish darting through. A crown rests upon skull covered in coral. Silence reigns, yet dignity remains. You feel awe not only for king but for ocean that claimed him. You realize ocean itself is ultimate king, crowned not with jewels but with horizon, throned not in palace but in abyss. The graves of kings beneath waves remind us that true power is not in crowns but in continuity. Even in myth, drowned kings are not silent, they become guardians. Arthur in British lore is said not to die but to rest in Avalon, sometimes linked to drowned lands. He waits to return. Drowned kings are not dead. They are transformed, waiting beneath waves. Their graves are not endings but transitions. The ocean holds them as seeds, ready to sprout in imagination when humanity needs their lessons. In your own life too, you have kings, parts of you that ruled, ambitions that commanded. When waves of time drowned them, you felt grief, yet perhaps they too transformed. Their graves within you are not dead but seeds, feeding wisdom, humility, perspective. To honor them is to honor continuity of self. The graves of kings remind you that loss is not end but transformation. So, tonight as you drift into sleep, imagine ocean as vast necropolis of kings. Thrones toppled, crowns scattered, swords rusted, but dignity intact. The sea humbles rulers, yet preserves them. They lie in silence, but their stories echo in waves. And as you sleep, you too surrender crown of ego, lie humbly, and dream of continuity beyond form. The graves of kings beneath waves are not tragic but transcendent, teaching that all must drown but meaning will endure. Civilizations drown, temples collapse, libraries dissolve, but myths endure. They are more buoyant than stone, more resilient than bronze, more stubborn than marble. Myths float upon the waves, carried by sailors, whispered by survivors, repeated by children until they become eternal. The lost civilizations of the ocean are not only remembered by their ruins, they are remembered by their myths, stories that refuse to sink even when all else is swallowed. To speak of these myths is to hear voices of the drowned rising again, demanding not to be forgotten, declaring through narrative what stone could not preserve. Take Atlantis, the myth par excellence. Though city is gone, if it ever existed, story thrives. It has become more than geography, more than archaeology. It has become archetype. Atlantis is pride punished, greatness humbled, civilization that flew too close to divine only to fall. For centuries, kings and philosophers, explorers and mystics, writers and scientists have projected their hopes and fears upon Atlantis. It has been utopia and dystopia, paradise and warning, dream and nightmare. This endurance proves myth's immortality. The ocean drowned city, but it could not drown myth. The same is true for Lemuria, born not of tradition but of 19th century hypothesis to explain distribution of species. Scientists abandoned theory, but myth refused to drown. Lemuria became homeland of sages, golden land lost, paradise beneath waves. Even today in spiritual circles, Lemuria is invoked as source of wisdom. Science may reject it, but imagination refuses. Myth floats, buoyed by human need for origin stories, for paradise lost and sought. In India, the myth of Kumari Kandam endures, homeland of Tamil culture said to lie beneath Indian Ocean. Though geology disputes vast sunken continent, poetry remembers golden land of philosophers and kings. For Tamil people, myth is not drowned, it is identity, reminder of greatness, promise of continuity. The ocean may erase land, but it cannot erase belonging. Myth becomes homeland when geography fails. Across Europe, too, myths persist. Cantre'r Gwaelod in Wales, city drowned by negligence, survives in songs. Ease in Brittany, city claimed by sea because of pride, is remembered in bells said to toll beneath waves. These myths refuse to drown, resurfacing in folklore, literature, music. Fishermen swore they heard them, poets sang them, and now tourists visit coasts seeking resonance. Myth breathes where stone cannot. In Pacific, Polynesian myths of drowned islands still guide. Chants speak of lands vanished, of gods sinking homes, of survivors carrying culture to new shores. These chants endure not because geography remains, but because memory insists. The myths refuse to drown, floating across centuries. Philosophically, myths that refuse to drown embody continuity of meaning. They show that what is lost physically can survive spiritually. They reveal resilience of human imagination, capacity to preserve truth in story even when evidence is gone. They also reveal paradox. Myths distort, change, exaggerate, but in doing so, they survive. Purity of fact may drown, but flexibility of myth floats. Myths survive because they adapt, shape-shifting with culture, resonating with new fears and hopes. Imagine in dream sitting upon shore after flood. City lies beneath waves, ruins gone, but you tell child story. You exaggerate, you invent, but essence survives. City drowned because of pride, because of gods, because of fate. Child grows, tells story to their child. Centuries pass, city forgotten, but myth thrives. Myth is raft carrying memory across flood. Science, too, must recognize power of myth. Archaeology digs ruins, but myths often guide where to look. Troy was myth until Schliemann dug it. Myths of floods once dismissed now aligned with geology. Myth may not be fact, but it is compass, pointing toward truths deeper than stone. To study myths is to respect resilience of memory, even when distorted. The lost civilizations of ocean live in myths as much as in ruins. In your own life, myths exist too. Stories you tell yourself about who you are, who you were, who you might be. They may not be factually accurate, but they shape identity. They refuse to drown, resurfacing in dreams, influencing choices. To honor them is to honor continuity of self. Myths may distort memory, but they preserve essence. The myths within you float like those within ocean, buoyant, stubborn, eternal. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, listen for myths rising in waves. Hear Atlantis whisper of pride, Lemuria sing of paradise, Kumari Kandam chant of homeland, Ease toll bells of warning. They are not drowned, they are eternal. The ocean may cover stone, but it cannot cover story. Myths refuse to drown, and in them civilizations live forever. Every ruin is a warning, every myth a signal, every drowned city a prophecy whispered across generations. The ocean does not simply erase civilizations. It writes messages upon their absence, letters inscribed in salt and silence that only the patient can read. The lost civilizations of the ocean are not only mysteries to entertain us or puzzles to solve, they are warnings written in water, reminders of what happens when arrogance meets tide, when pride forgets humility, when humanity mistakes permanence for truth. These warnings are not ancient curiosities, they are relevant today, more urgent than ever, because the waters are rising once again, and our own towers stand upon coasts vulnerable to same fate. Atlantis is not only story of pride but prophecy. Its fall was not final, it repeats wherever humans build empires without balance. Every skyscraper that gleams along waterfront is echo of Atlantis. Every city that ignores sea's power is writing its own flood. Plato's tale survives not because of curiosity but because of urgency. It warns that greatness without humility drowns. The ocean has already written this message once. It will write it again if we fail to listen. The myths of Yiz, Cantrer Gwaelod, Dwarka, Kumari Kandam, Lemuria, and others share same refrain. They remind us that negligence, arrogance, or ignorance invites flood. They warn that civilizations too confident in walls and machines are fragile. Their warnings are written not in ink but in waterlines upon stone, in ruins beneath waves, in myths that refuse to vanish. To ignore them is to risk repeating fate. To honor them is to live with humility before ocean. Science amplifies these warnings. Archaeologists uncover Doggerland, once fertile plain, now North Sea. It reminds us that entire nations can vanish not by war but by water. Geologists trace floods of Black Sea, revealing speed with which catastrophe can strike. Climate scientists today chart rising seas, warning that Miami, Jakarta, Dhaka, New York, Venice may be future Dwarkas, future Atlantean ruins. The warnings are no longer myth, they are measurable. The ocean is writing again, and it is writing quickly. Philosophically, the warnings written in water remind us of impermanence. We build illusions of permanence, stone cities, digital archives, global systems. Yet water erodes all. The ocean whispers, "You are temporary, respect me." This is not cruelty but truth, not malice but wisdom. To ignore truth is foolishness, to heed it is wisdom. The drowned civilizations are teachers, their silence more eloquent than speeches. They say, "Do not believe yourself immortal." They say, "Live with humility." They say, "Leave legacy in spirit, not only in stone." Imagine in dreams standing upon cliff, gazing at ocean. Beneath waves lie ruins, silent, dignified. You feel both awe and fear. Then tide rises higher than you expect. Reaching your feet, you realize warning is not only past, it is present. The ocean writes upon your own life too. It warns against pride, against neglect, against forgetting impermanence. To listen is to live wisely. To ignore is to drown. These warnings also extend inward. Within each of us are cities we have built, ambitions, identities, egos. They too risk drowning when pride grows, when humility fails. The ocean within warns with silence, with dreams, with losses that humble us. To ignore is to repeat mistakes. To heed is to grow. The drowned civilizations are not only historical, they are psychological, mirrors of self. But warnings are not despair, they are hope. For to be warned is to be given chance to act. The ocean does not destroy without teaching, it teaches by destroying. Its floods are harsh, but their myths are merciful, giving us lessons across centuries. We are free to listen, to adapt, to change. If we do, perhaps our cities may endure longer, perhaps our legacy may outlast tide. The warnings are invitations, not sentences. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, imagine ocean writing across horizon, letters formed by waves, sentences carved by tides. They say, remember Atlantis, remember Dwarka, remember Doggerland, remember all who thought themselves eternal. They say, respect ocean, respect impermanence, respect life. The warnings are written in water, and they are written for you. Every ruin has its myth, every myth its lesson, but beyond lessons there are dreams. Dreams do not belong to the past alone, they belong to the present and to the future. The lost civilizations of the ocean are not only tragedies to be mourned or warnings to be heeded, they are also dreams that refuse to sink. They are visions that rise again and again in human imagination, guiding explorers, inspiring writers, shaping cultures. No matter how many centuries pass, no matter how deep the ocean buries stone, these dreams rise like bubbles toward surface, fragile yet unstoppable. To speak of them is to speak of hope, because what survives drowning is not only memory but vision, and visions are what move humanity forward. Atlantis is clearest example. For some, it is warning of pride, but for others, it is dream of golden age. Philosophers imagined society built upon balance, inventors dreamed of advanced technologies, mystics spoke of spiritual wisdom preserved beneath sea, explorers searched not to mourn but to rediscover paradise. Even today, people dream of Atlantis as utopia, symbol of possibility. The city may be myth, but dream it represents is real. Dream of harmony between human and nature, dream of wisdom lost but recoverable, dream of greatness achievable. The ocean drowned city but could not drown dream, because dream lives in imagination, and imagination cannot drown. Lemuria too survives as dream. Though born of scientific error, it became vision of continent of sages, paradise where humanity flourished in peace. Spiritual seekers invoke it as homeland of wisdom, dream of better origin. Geography rejected it, but imagination embraced it. The dream refuses to sink because humanity needs it, needs place to project hope for purity, for beginning untainted. In this sense, myth's factual accuracy matters less than dream's endurance. Lemuria is alive because dream floats upon water, indestructible. In Tamil culture, Kumari Kandam is not only myth but dream of homeland, identity, pride. Though sea may have claimed land, dream of its greatness continues to inspire literature, art, politics. The ocean cannot drown identity. For people, dream of Kumari Kandam floats, shaping culture even without geography. It shows that lost civilizations are not gone when their land disappears. They endure as long as dream persists. Other myths echo same resilience. Ease in Brittany, though drowned, inspires songs. Cantor Gwaelod in Wales inspires poets. Polynesian chants of drowned islands inspire navigators. These myths endure not because they are factual, but because they are dreams. And dreams do not sink. They float across centuries, crossing oceans of time. Philosophically, this resilience reveals power of imagination. What we dream cannot be drowned, because it is not built of stone but of meaning. Stone collapses, meaning endures. The lost civilizations are testimonies to fragility of matter but also to immortality of spirit. Dreams are immortality, persistence beyond form. To honor drowned civilizations is not only to respect ruins but to embrace dreams they left. Imagine drifting in sleep above ocean. Beneath waves lie ruins, silent, yet above waves rise visions. You see Atlantis glowing, Lemuria shining, Kumari Kandam flourishing. They are not beneath but above, floating in your imagination. You realize ocean cannot drown dreams because dreams swim. They adapt, transform, reappear. They are eternal swimmers in sea of human spirit. In your own life, think of dreams you thought drowned, ambitions abandoned, hopes lost, plans collapsed. Yet when you look inward, you find fragments still alive. They rise in new forms, disguised as new goals, transformed but enduring. Your dreams, too, refuse to sink. They may rest for years, but they resurface when needed. To live wisely is to honor them, to nurture them, to let them breathe. You are ocean, and your dreams are swimmers. The lost civilizations remind us that humanity itself is dream refusing to sink. Species has faced floods, catastrophes, extinctions, yet survived because vision endured. We built again, dreamed again, sailed again. The ocean drowned many, but it could not drown us, because dream of survival, of meaning, of greatness persists. That dream carries us still. So tonight, as you surrender to sleep, remember that your dreams too are buoyant. No tide can claim them. No flood can erase them. They are more enduring than stone, more resilient than empire. The lost civilizations of ocean live not because of ruins, but because of dreams, and dreams do not drown. They rise again, and so will you. When we think of lost civilizations, we imagine ruins still and silent, but perhaps they are not entirely still. Every culture that has drowned has left behind not only stones, but shadows, echoes of lives lived, presences that linger. The ocean is not only archive, it is theater, and within it the drowned still walk. These are not ghosts in the way we imagine haunted houses, but shadows that move in memory, patterns of existence that refuse to vanish. The lost civilizations of the ocean may still be walking beneath waves, not in flesh but in presence, not in voice but in echo. Legends from every coast whisper of such presences. Fishermen in Wales claim to hear bells of Cantrogwelod ringing beneath storms, shadows of priests still calling congregation. In Brittany they told of figures walking waves near Ys, silhouettes of drowned courtiers gliding upon foam. Polynesian sailors spoke of islands where ancestors walked still, though land had vanished. In Japan, shrines recall spirits of drowned cities, kami who continue to guard waves. In each case, civilization did not fully drown. Its shadows remained, walking beneath surface. Even science recognizes echoes of presence. Sonar scans reveal shapes upon seabed that look like avenues, temples, faces. Divers swimming among ruins often describe uncanny feeling of being watched, of presences just beyond vision. Psychology may explain it as projection, yet perhaps it is memory embedded in place, resonance of countless lives once lived there. Just as rooms on land feel haunted by those who once inhabited them, so too do ruins beneath ocean. The drowned cities breathe shadows, and those shadows walk. Philosophically, shadows represent continuity. Flesh is temporary, stone fragile, but shadow endures as metaphor, as influence. The drowned civilizations cast shadows still, influencing culture, imagination, memory. To walk among them is to walk among shadows, presences that remind us that nothing vanishes completely. Shadows are not absence, they are presence refracted, meaning surviving form. Imagine descending in dream into Heracleion. You see statues, columns, inscriptions. But then, from corner of vision, movement. Figures glide slowly, not fish, not divers, but shapes of those who once lived. A priest with torch, a sailor with net, a child laughing. You reach out, but they dissolve into water. Yet presence lingers, shadow remains. You realize they are not ghosts to fear, but memories to honor, shadows reminding you that civilization may drown, but life continues in trace. Atlantis too casts such shadow. Though no stone is found, its story shadows us still. Every time we build utopia, Atlantis walks with us, reminding us of danger of pride. Every time we seek paradise lost, Atlantis walks with us, shadow guiding vision. It is not visible, but it is present, haunting our imagination. Shadows need not be seen to be real. Their influence proves their existence. In your own life, you too live with shadows. Past selves, relationships, choices. They walk with you, silent but influential. You may think you left them behind, drowned in time, but they cast shadows upon present. To honor them is to acknowledge continuity, to recognize you are not isolated moment, but culmination of shadows walking with you. The lost civilizations teach same. We walk with shadows of past, whether we admit it or not. The ocean itself is theater of shadows. At dusk, when light bends, shapes move upon waves like silhouettes of dancers. Deep within, where light cannot reach, every movement is shadow. Civilization drowned there continues as choreography of shadows, eternal play performed for those who dare to descend. To watch is to witness survival in new form, meaning transformed into shadow. But shadows also warn. They remind us of fragility. They show us what happens when arrogance forgets humility. They whisper that we too will one day walk as shadows, not gone but transformed. This is not curse but truth. To live wisely is to prepare for shadowhood, to accept that permanence lies not in body but in presence. The drowned civilizations already live this truth. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, imagine yourself beneath waves, around you ruins, silence, but also movement. Shadows walk, calm, dignified, eternal. They do not frighten, they remind. They remind you that you too are shadow in making, presence that will outlast form. To fear shadow is to fear continuity. To embrace shadow is to embrace immortality of meaning. The drowned civilizations still walk beneath ocean, and perhaps one day you will walk with them too. Civilizations that rise on land measure time with calendars carved into stone, with clocks of sun and moon, with rhythms of harvest and reigns of kings. But what of civilizations claimed by the sea? Did their time end? Or did it simply change measure? To imagine the lost civilizations of the ocean is to imagine time kept differently, not by seasons of soil but by tides of abyss, not by sun overhead but by pressure in depths, not by reigns of kings but by cycles of currents. The ocean is timekeeper of drowned worlds, and in its silence time stretches, slows, folds, and preserves. The ruins beneath waves are not frozen corpses. They are clocks still ticking but in language of abyss. Consider how stone endures underwater. Columns that once bore weight of temples now stand draped in coral, their erosion slow, patient. Every crack a tick of clock, every incrustation a second passing. Time in ocean is measured not in hours but in centuries. A coin dropped by sailor may rest unchanged for millennia, while in air it would corrode quickly. The abyss is conservator, slowing time, preserving memory. To dive into ruins is to step into different temporality, one where centuries feel like moments, where drowned civilizations still live in present tense of abyss. Legends reflect this altered time. In Japan, tales of Ryugu describe palace beneath sea where time flows differently. A fisherman visits, spends what feels like days, returns to surface to find centuries gone. Similar myths appear in Celtic stories of Tir na Nog, land beneath waves where time is not same. These myths are not mere fantasy. They are intuitions of truth that ocean keeps time differently. Civilizations drowned within it do not die in our sense. They shift into different clock, waiting silently. Atlantis, too, is said to still exist, not destroyed but hidden beneath time. Some mystics claim it vibrates on another plane, preserved in timelessness of ocean. Whether metaphor or belief, essence is same. Drowned civilizations are not erased. They are suspended. The abyss is timekeeper, holding them until we are ready to rediscover, until our own clock aligns with theirs. Science, too, confirms ocean's strange temporality. Deep-sea creatures live for centuries. Corals record climate changes in rings like trees. Sediments preserve layers of history for millions of years. The ocean is archive of time, slower, deeper, more patient than land. The drowned cities become part of this archive, each stone a line in diary of abyss. Archaeologists may uncover them, but they remain written in language of patience. Philosophically, the timekeepers of abyss remind us of relativity. Our lives are brief, decades at most. Civilizations last centuries. Ocean lasts eternity. We rush, but abyss waits. We panic, but abyss preserves. This should humble us. Our urgency fades against patience of tide. The drowned civilizations remind us that time is not only ours. There are clocks larger than empires, cycles longer than species. To live wisely is to synchronize with ocean's patience, to accept that our moment is small but meaningful. Imagine in dream, standing in temple beneath waves. Around you pillars rise, covered in coral. You expect silence, but instead you hear ticking, faint, deep, resonant. It is not clock but rhythm of abyss, current brushing stone, fish passing in schools, sediment settling. The temple is timepiece, measuring centuries with dignity. You realize drowned civilizations are not gone, they are clocks still running, marking eternity with patience. In your own life, too, you keep multiple clocks. The urgent clock of deadlines, the slower clock of years, the deeper clock of legacy. When you feel overwhelmed, remember abyss. Its patience teaches you to slow, to breathe, to accept your drowned ambitions, your lost loves, your abandoned plans. They are not gone. They are preserved in time's abyss, waiting to resurface when right moment comes. The ocean within you is also timekeeper, and its patience is your salvation. The myths of drowned time remind us of humility. They whisper that our calendars, our empires, our technologies are fleeting. The abyss cares nothing for minutes or hours. It measures in tides and millennia. The civilizations lost to sea are not tragic because they ended, but profound because they joined larger rhythm. They became part of eternity. Their ruins are not reminders of failure, but testimonies of time's true scale. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, imagine ocean's clock ticking, each wave a second, each tide an hour, each century a day. The drowned civilizations live within this rhythm, preserved, patient, eternal. They are not lost. They are suspended, waiting, teaching. To listen is to align with eternity. The timekeepers of abyss remind you that though your moments may be brief, you are part of rhythm larger than stars. Civilizations fall with noise. On land we imagine collapse of walls, cries of people, roar of fire. Beneath the sea collapse is quieter but no less dramatic. There is moment when flood surges, when foundations crack, when silence claims voices. Yet silence is not absolute. In depths there remain whispers, last fragments of sound, memory transmuted into echo. The lost civilizations of the ocean are not mute. They whisper through currents, through myths, through ruins. These are the last whispers of the deep, fragile but enduring, threads that connect drowned worlds to ours. Sailors have long claimed to hear such whispers. In ancient Greece, mariners swore that waves carried voices, laughter, even laments. Norse sagas spoke of drowned halls whose music echoed in fjords. In Celtic lands, fishermen said storms brought cries of drowned kings. Polynesian navigators listened to ocean not only for currents, but for voices of ancestors guiding canoes. To skeptics, these are superstitions, but to cultures they were truths. Ocean whispers with voices of drowned. Archaeology, too, hears whispers, though in stone, not sound. In Heraclean inscriptions remain, faint but legible, whispers carved in hieroglyphs. In Dwarka streets align with constellations, whispering of astronomical knowledge. In Doggerland, DNA remains in bones of survivors, whispering of vanished land. Every artifact is whisper across time, faint voice saying we were here, remember us. They are not loud, but they endure, enough to guide, enough to remind. Philosophically, whispers are essence of legacy. We imagine immortality as thunder, but truth is softer. Most of what survives of us are whispers, stories told, habits passed, influence unnoticed. Civilizations too survive not in grandeur but in whispers. They do not shout across millennia, they murmur, subtle, persistent. To listen requires patience, humility, openness. Those who listen hear more than those who shout. The drowned civilizations survive as whispers precisely because whispers endure where shouts fail. Imagine drifting in dream into abyss. Darkness surrounds, pressure heavy. You expect silence, yet you hear faint sounds, rhythm like heartbeat, tone like voice. You realize ruins around you are speaking, not loudly but gently. A stone column groans, a statue hums, a current vibrates with syllable. You lean closer, and words emerge, not clear but meaningful. They say remember, they say learn, they say you too will whisper one day. The ocean is not silent, it is library of whispers. Atlantis whispers through philosophy, warning of pride. Lemuria whispers through spirituality, promising wisdom. Kumari Kandam whispers through culture, offering identity. Dwarka whispers through faith, affirming continuity. Ys whispers through folklore, tolling bells in storms. Doggerland whispers through science, teaching fragility. Each whisper unique, each faint but real. Together they form chorus, whispering across time, voices of drowned still alive. In your own life too, you live by whispers. Advice of elders, words of friends, fragments of books, glances of strangers, they shape you more than thunder of fame. You too will leave whispers, not monuments. That is not failure, it is truth of legacy. To whisper is enough, if whisper endures. The drowned civilizations teach us this. They were mighty once, but what survives are whispers, and whispers are eternal. These whispers also warn. They remind us of fragility of land, vulnerability of pride, impermanence of empire. They whisper that we are not eternal, that we too may drown. Yet they also comfort, whispering that memory survives, that nothing is truly lost, that whispers cross centuries. To live wisely is to listen, to honor whispers, to become whisper yourself. So tonight, as you drift into sleep, close your eyes and listen. Beneath hum of waves, beneath silence of night, whispers speak. They are voices of drowned civilizations, faint but present, calling you to remember, to learn, to live humbly. They are last whispers of deep, and they are for you. Every story we have told until now has circled one truth. Every myth and ruin and whisper has pointed toward it. Every dream and shadow has echoed it. The ocean remembers everything. Civilizations may rise and fall. Temples may gleam and crumble. Songs may be sung and silenced. But the ocean never forgets. Its memory is not like ours, selective and fragile. It is absolute, patient, eternal. The waves that crash upon our shores today have touched ruins long forgotten. Currents that sweep across basins carry fragments of drowned kings and broken cities. When we stand at the edge of the sea, we are standing before greatest memory on earth, one that preserves not only geology and biology but history and spirit. The lost civilizations of the ocean are not lost at all. They are archived in abyss, remembered in ways we are only beginning to understand. Atlantis may never be found in stone, but it survives in philosophy, in yearning, in imagination. The ocean remembers pride of its kings, brilliance of its palaces, downfall of its hubris. It whispers to us whenever we build empires upon fragile coasts, whenever we mistake might for permanence. Dwarka too is remembered, not only in ruins beneath waves, but in rituals of millions who still light lamps for Krishna. The ocean remembers devotion, carries it forward, makes city immortal not in walls, but in faith. Doggerland is remembered in DNA of descendants, in soil beneath North Sea, in maps of scientists who piece together lost world. The ocean remembers fertility of its plains, abundance of its rivers, tragedy of its flood. Kumari Kandam lives in Tamil imagination, in poetry, in identity. The ocean remembers pride of its people, carries it forward, makes myth into homeland. Yiz and Cantraguelod live in bells tolling beneath storms, echoes of drowned kings still carried in surf. The ocean remembers their songs, refuses to silence them. Science now proves what myth intuited. Nothing is lost in ocean. Sediments preserve pollen of ancient forests. Corals preserve rings of climate. Bones preserve genes of ancestors. Ruins preserve whispers of cities. Even sound travels farther and longer in water, making sea archive of vibrations. The abyss is not grave but library, not tomb but memory palace. When we gaze at horizon, we are not looking at emptiness but at fullness, a vast memory keeping everything. Philosophically, this truth humbles us. We imagine forgetting as failure, but ocean teaches that forgetting is illusion. What we think gone is preserved somewhere, somehow, in wave, in current, in whisper. Nothing vanishes entirely. Everything transforms into memory. The drowned civilizations remind us that impermanence is not annihilation but transformation, not end but continuity. To live wisely is to see your own life in this way. Your moments will drown, your days will vanish, but ocean within you remembers. Your spirit carries every joy and sorrow, every choice and failure. You are your own abyss, your own memory. Imagine tonight as you surrender to sleep that you stand before infinite sea. Waves crash, winds howl, stars shine above. Beneath surface lie cities, kings, temples, songs, dreams. They are not silent, they breathe. You listen and realize ocean is speaking. It says, I remember. It says nothing you do is wasted. It says your life too will join my memory, not erased but transformed. You feel awe, you feel humility, you feel peace, for to be remembered by ocean is to be eternal. In your own life, live as if ocean remembers. Live with humility, for arrogance is drowned. Live with gratitude, for memory endures. Live with courage, for though form will vanish, meaning will remain. The drowned civilizations are not tragedies, they are testimonies. They prove that nothing is lost, that every act echoes, that every whisper matters. You too are whisper that will outlast your form. To embrace this is to embrace immortality, not of body but of meaning. So let the final truth resound. The ocean remembers everything. Atlantis, Dwarka, Lemuria, Doggerland, Kumari Kandam, Ys, Heraclean, Yonaguni, and countless more unnamed, all preserved, all whispered, all alive. They are not gone, they are here, beneath waves, within myths, across dreams. The ocean holds them, and in holding them, it holds us too. We are not separate. We are remembered. And as you close your eyes tonight, as you drift into sleep, remember this: the ocean forgets nothing, and neither should you.